Welcome to the world premiere of the new film from Mick Jackson, Denial. My name is Caren Bailey. I'm the artistic director of the Toronto International Film Festival. I'm so pleased to see all of you here to witness the very first public screening of this film. We are thrilled to have Mick Jackson back, and also a rather remarkable cast that includes Tom Wilkinson, Andrew Scott, Timothy Spall, and the remarkable Rachel Weisz. They're all remarkable, really. This film, like every film we screen here, is eligible for our most important prize, the Welsh People's Choice Award. You vote for that, you decide, so please either drop your ticket in the ballot box after the screening, or you can use the TIFF app and vote on this film's page for the film. Big thanks to Elevation Pictures, to Bleecker Street, and to Cornerstone Films for providing us with the film. Thanks also to the British Council for their generous support of all the films from the UK at the festival. We often show films that are based on true stories, on things that happened in history, but rarely do we have the opportunity to show a film that is based on a true story that is also about the telling of stories and the power of stories, and in some cases the danger of telling stories. This is such a film. It has a remarkable team behind it, including the award-winning author David Hare, a composer that all Canadians should be proud of, Howard Shore, who is from Toronto. A remarkable cast of actors, and most especially director Mick Jackson. His features include Chattahoochee from way back in 1989, which screened at the festival. One of my favorite LA comedies, LA Story from 1991. Famously, The Bodyguard, which I think everybody here has seen. Clean Slate and Volcano. This is his latest film. I'm very pleased that he's come to introduce the film to you this evening. Please join me in welcoming the director of Denial, Mick Jackson.
I also would like to thank Participant Media, BBC Films, Elevation Pictures, Cornerstone and Bleecker Street Media. Good evening. Denial is about truth, and it's about defending that truth against those who would pervert it. One of the principal characters in the film is called a liar, a racist, an extremist, and a distorter of history, a demagogue. Think about that. You'd be forgiven if you thought this was a hastily assembled, ripped from the headlines story about where we are now. It isn't. In fact, the events that are depicted in this film go back 15 or 20 years into the past. And the film itself has been many, many years, as many as 9 years, in gestation, germination, on the part of all those involved. It's involved the talents and energies of many dedicated people, and I'd like to introduce some of those who are here tonight. Firstly, the tireless producers who came across this story by accident, by chance, when it's a very little known story, saw the film potential as an important film, which I believe it is, and wrestled it into being through every setback and adversity you can imagine. Gary Foster and Russ Krasnoff. Never get your nose confused. Just talk among yourselves for a while. Anyway, the man in whose capable hands the story took on its present life and emotional heft is arguably the preeminent dramatist and screenwriter of our turbulent age. And I'd like you to give a big welcome to him, David Hare. principal caster here tonight, starting with flying in specially from New Zealand, which is quite a long way, and who plays the young Laura Tyler in our film, the lovely rising star Caren Pistorius. Also flying in from an all-night shoot in Georgia, the Protean actor, look that up, who plays the brilliant Anthony Julius in our film, the equally brilliant Andrew Scott. And moving from his roles as England's last hangman, Ian Paisley and the painter, the grunting painter, J.M.W. Turner, the master of complex and tortured characters, now playing David Irving, the great Timothy Spall. And as the bewigged barrister Richard Rampton, a man who once said in an unguarded moment, he was thinking of giving up acting because it was too easy. Only easy when he does it. Tom Wilkinson. And finally, heading up this remarkable cast, as the feisty and passionate Deborah Lipstadt, the woman who started the whole story by calling David Irving a Holocaust denier, the insanely gifted, shape-shifting actress who embodies her with a feistiness and passion all her own, the amazing and lovely Rachel Weisz. And I think Rachel would like to say a few words.
Good evening. I'd just like to say it's such an honour to be here tonight for the world premiere of Denial, and it was an incredible experience becoming Deborah Lipstadt and telling her story. I loved being Deborah. It's much more fun than being me, actually, being Deborah. She's a very ballsy, vivacious, she's a great gal. But I can't stay tonight for the Q&A because in 1978, David Hare wrote a play called Plenty, of which I'm in the midst of rehearsals for, and he wrote, I think, more lines than Hamlet gets. And I have to rehearse first thing in the morning, so I have to leave now. So I can't be at the Q&A, which is really very frustrating for me, and I wish I could be here, but I just wanted to say I will be here in spirit, and I hope you enjoy the movie as much as we enjoyed making it, and I hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you respond to this movie at all, it's all they're doing. And if you don't, please address the complaints on a postcard, please, to me.
Issues that the movie speaks to. And then one day, me and his son were looking at a website.
My son, who's here tonight, was applying to colleges and was told one of the colleges you should look at is Emory University. So I knew little of it. And I went online, and just so happened on that day, so good fortune happens sometimes, there was a story about the university creating a $1 million endowment to take Deborah's work and her website about Holocaust denial and translate it into Farsi and Arabic so that information about the truth and about history would be available to people in that part of the world that don't have access to that information. Quite an amazing thing for both a professor and for a university to do, and obviously we delved deeper into it and found this story.
And the short version is, we were making a film with Participant at the time, and we shared with them the story, and they enthusiastically agreed that there was a movie.
That took place standing on Skid Row bus.
Skid Row. And then we got into partnership with BBC Films. And David Hare, who they have a great relationship with, agreed to come on and work with us on the screenplay. And a little bit of time later, we were thrilled that Mick was passionately interested in directing the film, and he and David guided the script to fruition.
For the actors, I'd love to hear a little bit about your research process or your process of coming into embodying these people.
I think what was very important for us as actors was to try and embody in some way, even though it's a very heavy material, that the incredible teamwork that the legal team created with each other, and with that a sense of likeness. David knew that these people are people who enjoy language, and that the idea of focusing on fact rather than feeling actually is something that we sometimes takes less precedence in the current day and age, and that in defending the truth and ensuring that the truth is undeniable, that can be something that's equally as dramatic as something that is over sentimentalizing in such an extraordinary subject.
Deborah, you might want to talk about your time with Rachel before we started filming.
I learned that Rachel had agreed to take the part, and Gary or Russ called me and said, she'd like to know if she can call you. And I said, let me think about it, you know. She called me and we spent a long time, I would say over an hour on the phone, and then decided that we should get together. I was going to be in New York, so I spent 2 days with her. As she likes to say, we sat in her kitchen and we just talked, and she pumped me for stories and all sorts of material, including, of course, many things about the trial, many things about the case, but also many things that were totally extraneous about my childhood, background, my family, etc. And I told her one story, since this is a movie celebration, of how my mother, when she was, I think, 88 years old, read a review in the New York Times of Gladiator, and it got a great review, and she decided she wanted to see it. But she couldn't find any of her octogenarian friends to go with her, so she went by herself, you know, and I thought this was like, you went to see Gladiator, who'd you go with? You went by yourself? I told this to Rachel, and when I was leaving, I said, well, was all this helpful? And she said, well, you know that story about your mother, obviously it's not going to be in the movie, but at some point when I'm playing you, it will inform what I'm doing. And I would say that even if she was standing here, but it's easier to say that she's not here, that she's a professional's professional. She's she's an actress of great, magnificent talents and wellsprings of talent. But what she did is really try to draw out as much. She'd call me sometimes at night before she was about to film a scene, and she'd say, tell me what you were thinking, tell me what happened before, tell me how this was for you. She wanted as much information as possible, not to mimic me, but to sort of take all that in and then create her own Deborah Lipstadt, and I think she did a damn good job. So.
Okay, well, I'll open it up to the audience. Does anyone have any questions? Right here in the center.
My question's for Mick Jackson. They mentioned a lot of your films at the beginning, but I want to mention one more. It's a brilliant HBO film, Temple Grandin. It's really fantastic. How do you go about collaborating with the real-life subjects of your films with that in mind as well?
So the question was for Mick about how you go about collaborating with the real-life subjects of your films.
Well, I'm happy to say that what Deborah describes here, the bond that formed between her and Rachel, was exactly the same as Claire Danes and Temple Grandin. It's not something you can apply in every situation where you do a film that's based on real people and real events, sometimes that's the last thing an actor needs, is to be confused by everything about a real person when what they want to try and get at is that certain essence of that person. But sometimes, and in this case especially, I think that the performances that you saw were a result of Deborah spending this time with Rachel, and I can't say that Timothy spent much time with Deborah.
It doesn't take much of a leap of imagination to realise that it wasn't forthcoming with offering his service.
But certainly, Tom spent some time with Richard Brampton, and I think they both ended up actually liking each other. I mean, all of this is great if you're trying to make a movie like this one, which is as true as you can make it. Every word in those courtroom scenes is verbatim from the transcript of the trial. It may have been condensed a little bit. Every word was actually spoken in court, which is hard for an actor. They can't say, "Can I put it this way?" You have to say, "No, you can't put it this way." We are trying to stake a claim in truth. And everything that Tim said as David Irving is taken from speeches, from articles, from interviews, from books, whatever. Every word that Tim spoke, David Irving said. So we've been as scrupulous as we could with the truth.
Any more questions?
Up here.
Up there? Yeah.
This question is for Deborah, and I just want to know with the recent rise of new demagogues in America and Europe and elsewhere, what's your message to the public and society?
What's my message to the rise of demagoguery?
What would you say to the public since you kind of went through that?
I'm going to be diplomatic, uncharacteristically so. I think that if this film sends a message about the need to stand up to hatred, to stand up to prejudice, to stand up to lies, if this film sends a message about the difference between truth and lies, I'll be very satisfied. I don't think it'll solve the problem of the rise of demagoguery. I don't think it'll solve the assault on facts and people making up their own facts. But if it helps a little bit, I'll be satisfied.
We have time for one more. Okay, I'll go there.
The question is to Tom Wilkinson. Sir, would you describe your feelings when you were filming on the grounds of Birkenau?
So the question is for Tom.
Personal emotion.
And it was, would you describe your personal feelings when you were filming at Birkenau?
When you're, okay, you can hear me, right? That's my life. The Auschwitz experience is one that is indescribable in a very real sense. I thought I knew what I was going to encounter, having seen, like all of us, thousands of TV shows and stuff that have been, but to actually be there, what you're not prepared for is the actual scale of the place. It's huge. I thought it was just going to be like a dozen Nissen huts or, it's acres and acres and acres and acres of big huts in which I assume were crowded people. And it changes your view of humanity in a certain sense, and it changes your view of history, it changes your view of yourself in the sense that it's incomprehensible. I can't be any more explicit of that. But the experience is something. Go there. You go there. And you'll know what I mean when I say that it's an incomprehensible experience, but one that you will never forget. That's it.
Okay, well, I want to thank you all so much for coming and bringing the film. It means so much to us and TIFF. Please don't forget to vote.